Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Product. Today I'm here with Moshe Mikanovsky. He's a senior product manager. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Moshe.
Thank you very much, Brennan, for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Did you want to give a quick little introduction about yourself or talk about your background a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I've been doing developing products for 30 years now, 20 years on the engineering side, and then the last 10 years on the product side. So I've been developing so many products, I can't even remember. I have to make a list one day. Mostly B2B, B2B2C, SaaS products, API platforms in different verticals. So I've done a lot.
Nice. So, I'm newer to product management, as we've talked about, and I came across your profile on LinkedIn. You share so much value on that platform. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you here to ask you some questions. When I was first getting into product management, I could never find like a definition of what is product management. You get these courses on like Udemy, you can check YouTube, but it's really hard to find out from product managers, like what exactly is it that we do? How would you define product management?
Yeah, and I think the reason it's hard because most of us don't even know what we're doing. So we're trying to find out. And that was me for a lot of time. I didn't even know I was doing product management for many years. But in general, I would go after finding the right problems to build the right solutions for clients. And this is really drives from, I'm a follower of Marty Kagan. So everything that I would say I hope I would never say anything against what he's saying, because I think he's like the guru out there. So basically that's really what I believe he's saying as well, that you have to find a value to your users that will also work for your organization.
Nice. Well, first of all, I love Marty Kagan also. I've read Inspired, and I have to check out his new book, Empowered. Have you read that one yet?
I'm actually reading it right now.
Nice. We'll have to talk about that at the end. So how did you get into product management?
Yeah, so as I said, I started as a software developer, and I always had that, I started many years ago, and we had, I was lucky to start in places where I was very close to the users. So I was able to actually talk with the users and ask them about, back then it wasn't so much about the problems, it was more what is their requirements, what are they trying to do, and stuff like that. Only in time I learned to ask also why they're trying to do that, and then try to come up with other solutions for them. And then I realized after some time that I really like that part of the business, and meaning being that bridge between the users and the solutions we're building for them. And also I realized that if I'm only on the engineering end, a lot of the engineering side don't really care so much about what the users want or what they say. They just care about these fancy new tools they want to play with. And I did the same. I was like that as well. But I realized that it's not always to the benefit of the end users or to the benefit of the product. So I decided to switch into that bridge, to become that bridge in my full-time position, and not just as a sidekick or as something that is another hat that I had to wear, and focus only on product management. And when I did that, when you said product management, or when you actually looked for positions of product managers, it was really all about marketing. Product managers were in the marketing department. They were not really in the engineering side or where they are today. So it was really in the early days of defining what product management is all about. I think that these days it's a much being transferred. When you say today product managers, you would really understand that it's not under marketing, it's more working with identifying the product and working with the developers to deliver it. So that was my journey, long journey, of course.
Yeah. So very technical background, and during my research as I was trying to enter, I was told that I wasn't technical enough, but that was never really defined for me. Maybe you can give some advice to aspiring product managers around how your technical background helped you, or maybe like if you had to start coming from a business background, what would you do to build that the technical know-how to get into
Yeah.
product management?
Yeah. Well, it helped me because I was right there. I was in the right places. I knew what products are all about. I knew um, I was working already for this type of organizations that needed product managers. So that definitely helped me. The other thing is, and that's why many people will say that you need that background, although I don't think that it's mandatory. Um, the reason they say it is because you know how to talk with the developers and you can understand what the developers are. But this is where really the definition of what the work of a product manager is that is important here. Because if the work is to just work with the developers, then you might not be a product manager. You might be a delivery manager or product owner, which is also a job title that I don't really like. And I wrote about it also on LinkedIn. But it does help to be able to know how to work to speak with the developers. But that's not the only thing that you need to know as a product manager, because you also have this entire other side of knowing how to talk with your stakeholders and knowing how to talk with your users and knowing how to talk with every other department in the organization. So just being able to talk with the developers is not the only thing you need to know. But it definitely helps. Now, if you are not coming from that background, and I've seen many great product managers that did not have that technical background. Some of them came from, I think the best one that I've seen came from customer service, where they worked for a couple of years helping the customers, and then they knew the product so well and they have that deep empathy to the users that it was a very easy transition to them to product management. Because they already knew the product, and I'm talking about people within the same organization. So they already knew the product, they already knew the users, they have this relationship with some of them already, and it was easier for them to access them and to have more discussions with them. So in that case, if you do need that technical background, or not technical background, but what is it that you would like, you should probably learn or add to your tools skill set for technically. I would say some of it is related to a more high level of what are the different constraints and issues that technology usually has. So, for example, security issues, governance issues, compliance issues like PCI, PII, things like that, accessibility issues. So a lot of those things are things we have to worry about in our product anyway. And if we know them from the technical side, and I'm not talking about you don't need to know how to develop them or how to implement them, but at least you need to know, how they will impact your product and maybe some solutions out there and stuff like that. Even though as a product manager, your job is not to put together the solutions; it's your team, job. But at least you know these things. And then the second thing is data. So being able to have affinity towards analytics, understanding how data works, how databases work, SQL databases, non-SQL databases, and stuff like that. And then how to get information from this data, because you will not always have access to great BI tools. Not every company will have its BI department or whatever. So a lot of that data mining you might have to do on your own. And or you will be able to ask the right question, where can I get this data, and stuff like that. And lastly, there are some technologies that are specific to products. So if your product that you're aiming to work with is IoT or AI, then it's a good idea probably to know a bit about those technologies.
No, a lot of good points there. And for anyone coming from a retail background like myself that may be watching this,
Mhm.
uh, you all know how the data points come to life in the field and what the end results and the KPIs of the business. And I think Moshe, you hit a great point with the SQL databases and knowing how to grab the data. You know, as a product manager, you'll have access to all the databases and be able to query everything. So one of the most important languages I'm learning right now is SQL. So I can understand how to maneuver the database and understand the impact of the product and I guess the decisions that we're making. So a lot of great points there. You've also talked a lot about excuse me about user feedback and user research. And as an engineer, you know that's
Mhm.
not something that you necessarily did. And as a PM, that is what we do.
Yeah.
What are some best practices that you could share around gathering user feedback or conducting user research?
Yeah. So, well, the usual candidates like talk with them. So I'm always looking for places where they are, and that could be sometimes tricky. And we are depends on the product, the company that you're working at. Uh, you really need sometimes to think out of the box. Where are these users, and how can I actually find time with them and speak with them? So that's really the first one. But then also make the time to talk with them. Always schedule more than you need because many of them will not show up or will, just reschedule with you, and then it will be too late for you on your schedule for the discovery or whatever that is. Create a good cadence. So if you have almost like a calendar of trying to do these things, some companies these days they have a product ops department or the product ops group, and they are very helpful with these things. I unfortunately never had the opportunity yet to work with one, so hopefully sometime. So when you don't work with one, then a lot of these falls on you to do. Um, but then if you have other partners in the organization, so you can partner with marketing department if they have access to people through different surveys that they're doing, or etc. Or another way that I implemented several times is in-app messaging. So I really am a big fan of Pendo, and I'm using Pendo for one of the usages that I started using Pendo for was for this, to be able to actually access users that otherwise I didn't really have any access to. So getting those users where they are, talking with them, asking them the right questions, knowing how to ask questions. That's also almost like an art. Um, you have to practice it a lot. And, I also made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, but it's good to see how other good people doing it. So you learn from them and then be able to do that, because it's really it's an art of asking the right question in the right time, listening a lot, letting them talk rather than you try to dub them or to make them go to a point you were looking for. So you have to really be careful with biases and stuff like that. And then, surveys is another tool. Again, another art form to put together the right survey. And when you're doing, so this is a lot on the discovery with upfront. And then when you already have some solutions, when you do user validations or asking users about different areas of the product and stuff like that, always think about what are the options you can give them over there to look for, and make it don't overwhelm them too much, because that's also not going to help you at the end of the day.
Excuse me. Really, really good points. You have another post on LinkedIn that I was curious about. It's how to say no as a product manager. Can you maybe, especially as a new PM, it seems like it's really easy to want to help everyone and serve all your stakeholders. How do you know when to say no?
Yeah, that is really a good question that I'm sometimes still struggle with. So even after 30 years, it's not an easy thing to do. Part of it is because of our own personalities. Sometimes we like to please people, and it's hard for us to say that no. So some of it is, and I know other people that I talked with and commented on that post, was that for them it's actually very easy. And I think this is because of their personality. So if you have that personality, maybe you're lucky. For the rest of us, it's reframing things. So it's more about reframing. So first of all, as you experience, as you get more experience, it will be easier for you to do it. The second thing is reframe it with, I need data I need to validate this. So it's like, I learned very early in my marriage, when someone invited us, my wife would say, never say yes right away. You don't have to say no, but never say right away. First ask me. and then, so I will always say, yeah, I need to check with my boss, or I need to check with my wife, or something like that. So, you learn as you go that you don't have to say yes right away, but if you are not comfortable with saying no, you also don't have to say no right away. You can say, let me check it and I'll get back to you. 50% of the time they will forget about it, and then you don't have an issue. And then the other times is, you look into it, you see what you frame it around with data, and then the best case scenario is that you have a specific vision, a specific strategy that everyone is aligned to, and then it's quite easy if something comes up and it doesn't align with this vision or strategy. It's pretty easy to say no for that. Now, if you have, this is also differ between internal users or internal stakeholders and external ones. Your internal ones, if you're all aligned to the same vision and strategy, then it's pretty easy. With the external ones, you just need to be honest about it. So I think that users, they do appreciate honesty, and they appreciate that you don't just, lie to them and hang them around and tell them yes, and then it will never happen. Then that's worse for you. So you really have to realize that if you don't have a vision and a strategy, then it becomes a problem, because, but not having a vision and strategy is a problem in many other things, not just for this one.
No, really, really good points. And that kind of leads into product prioritization. You had a series on LinkedIn, and then you spoke about this at an event as well. Can you talk a little bit about product prioritization?
Sure. The reason I did that series was because I kind of challenged myself. Prioritization is one of those things that, as many years that I'm doing this, is still hard to do. It's never easy. And mainly because there's so many people involved, and so many people have different opinions and different ways that they want things to happen. So you really need to think about, how you want to do this prioritization, and how you explain the prioritization to other people. So in this series, what I did is I thought about 10 different tips to be able to help you with this, with the prioritizations. And, like connecting it with the previous answer related to vision and strategy, these were two of the first two tips there. Was once you have a vision and a strategy, it's much easier to prioritize, because then you can tell the items that do not fit with this vision or strategy, or they can be pushed down your prioritization. But a lot of other things over there are related to, your stakeholders and how you create relationship with them, because that can help you also with the prioritization. It talks about different type of prioritization, but I don't list any specific prioritization method. I did find, I don't remember the name of the guy now, but the website is Folding Burritos, and he has this table of elements, like the chemical table of elements is a table of prioritization, which is pretty cool. So he created all the different prioritization, and he put it over there. And that's what I actually like to do. I like to create great content from anywhere and present it out to people, just share it with people. So, and I think it's quite helpful. So a few of the other tips are also, they're not really coming from me. I just brought them into that list from other people. But yeah, I do hope that people find value in that. And I also always look for more tips from other people. So if other people have more things that help them with prioritization, we can always add tip number 11 and 12 and 13 and create another series.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what I'll do is I'll link that post because you pulled them all together so perfectly on LinkedIn. I'll link that post in the comments of the
Thank
video
you.
so everyone can
That will
access
be
it.
great.
What other what pieces of advice you've shared so many tips already, but what advice would you have specifically for like a new or an aspiring product manager?
Yeah. Um, so there is a lot of tips that you can have. One of them is really to get a mentor. I think that will be very, very helpful. Someone that has that experience. And there is quite a lot of different mentorship programs out there. I live in Toronto, so there is one here with the Toronto Product Management Association. So I'm mentoring over there. And I also talk with a few people online here and there. And people can reach out to me anytime, ask me any question. I'm always happy to do that. And there are other product mentorships program out there that match you with a mentor. And it's a good thing to have as a sounding board and ask questions as you go with your first experiences. Within the organization where they are as a first time or junior or associate product manager, um, create don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to create relationships. I noticed that a lot of product managers are very outspoken and very they like to talk and they like to create those relationships, so that's a good thing. So do that. It doesn't have to be about what you need. It can be about what they need, and that will also you will practice your empathy doing that. And then I'm always about when I create those relationships, I'm about doing it in a way that will also try to give them value. So for example, I started a book club in a couple of companies, and this was just something that was fictional book club, not even work related. And it gave value to people that like to read. I met people from other departments that I would never otherwise meet them. And then I found ways on how through that, I created those relationships, and they helped me later on with other things that I needed to do. There are so many other tips I can give, but
Yeah. No, they seem to be really centered. Oh, sorry, it's really centered around relationship building, and I love that mentorship one. And I think with social media and the power of LinkedIn, I mean, just you and I just sitting here together for today's call, I mean, just as proof that you can really connect with anyone. And there's an entire community out there of product managers. And the really cool thing about product managers is we just seem more willing to help. I haven't ran into a product manager that has said no. It seems like almost every product manager, especially ones on LinkedIn, when you post something, you don't just throw it up there and let it go. You're really active in the comments and wanting to continue to solve problems. And I think that might be a trick.
I think it comes from our muscle of empathy, because we're tuned to what other people needs a lot, and we develop it in time. I just wrote a post last week about how I love to give feedback to product managers of products that I'm using. So I always envy them. I would love to one day develop a product for product managers, because I think all of them will give you feedback. I will not have any shortage of feedback.
Absolutely. So before I want to dive more into the book club and hear some of your book recommendations. But before we do that, did I miss any questions? Do you have anything you wanted that I overlooked or that you would think would be value to add?
No, I think that was a really good coverage, and I mean there is always more questions, but that was good. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. And the good thing is you're on LinkedIn and you're super active. And so if anyone has any follow-up questions for you, they can definitely
Exactly.
hit you up on there. Um,
Exactly.
but but one of the questions I like to ask everyone is, what books do you recommend for product managers to read?
Yeah, of course. So first thing, if you didn't read Inspired by Mighty Kagan, then you have to run now to the bookstore and get it, or to your favorite channel of getting your books. If you are a product manager already and you didn't read it, then I don't know how come you didn't read it. That's very strange. Um, and then he published recently Empowered, so read that too. I'm actually reading it right now, and I'm kind of like, usually I highlight with a yellow marker things in books that I like. With his book, I can't highlight it because I will highlight every word. So it's like, what do I do? Then I do have a few other books that I like. They're actually right here. Oh no, if I move them, my camera is going to move. So it's kind of propped on top of my product books. But the Lean Product Playbook by Dan Olson is a great book. It has a good framework for finding market fit. So I really like that. And there are a few other books. There is one book that is actually not about software product, but about any product or product, industrial product as well. Every day. Now, I should have a list before written down because my memory is not that great. But The Design of Everyday Things, I believe that's the name of the book. And just one of the main examples he's talking about there is door handles, for pull and push, and how you can make it so much easier, so much harder to users when you have big designs. So that's really is a good book. Sprint is another good one about the Google. And I'm sorry, I don't mention the authors. I just don't remember the names.
I'm going to find them all on Amazon, just so you know, and I'm going to put them in the comments. Okay. So don't even worry about the authors.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I love giving credit to other people. I hate not giving the credit. So Sprint is really a good one about the 5 days sprint that Google Venture, the guys in Google Venture developed. Even if you don't have time to do, or your company doesn't really give you the time to do those type of 5 days sprints, the design sprints, there are some tools in there that are very helpful. I found them very helpful as well. Yeah, there are many others, so it's too short of a segment, I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that you have I think I saw like a book club post on your LinkedIn as well. I think you have so many. What I tell listeners is that just go to his profile because he has so many resources. You have so many resources on LinkedIn where you kind of wrap up all these ideas.
Yeah, one thing I did is I mentioned before fictional book clubs. I created another one that was more of a product book club in the company that I joined, mainly because I needed them to understand what product is all about. So I picked Inspired and we read it together, and every week we met on a Friday for lunch and we talked about what we read in the last week. And it really gave the entire team, and I also invited stakeholders, not just the team, not just the product team. So yes, I wrote a post for that, lining up the steps, how to do it. It's not that hard. I mean, book clubs are easy to run, to me anyway. I'm sure to many other people. It's just that you have to shepherd everyone together, and you have to get them the books, and you have to remind them to read it, and then you have to come up with some quotes. So you have to really do it yourself, because if you rely on other people, sometimes it won't happen.
Absolutely. And there's such a great way to network. When I was early on in my LinkedIn, one of the ways that I tried to grow my network and expand and meet new people was I started a little LinkedIn, but I called it book chain, I think it was, where we would you would send the book to someone else. So you would nominate someone else,
I've heard
and then you
about
would
it.
send the book, and then you keep kind of pass it around. So
Yeah.
that was always fun. But books are such a great way to connect. I'm actually going to take your idea of Reading Inspired as an organization and invite some cool stakeholders and try to get some people in a
Yes.
room that wouldn't normally get in a room. I think that it'd be super cool to get
Yeah.
like a development team in the same room as like some business VPs, and just
Yes.
having everybody understand and get these different perspectives of the same word that you're reading on the page. So
Yes, and it's this is a perfect book for that, because it's written in a very easy way to read, to consume. The chapters are not long, and it really explains on a lot of theoretical behind, what's a good way to do product management. And there is a lot of examples, and Marty Kagan has a lot of credit to his name, so it's not like someone just decided to write a book after 2 years of being a product manager.
yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Moshe. I really appreciate you coming and hanging
My
out with me this
pleasure.
morning.